Hi everyone and welcome to the studio. Today we are definitely feeling the autumnal vibes. The weather's pretty shocking, but I quite like it. I'm feeling quite cozy in here. And of course Halloween is coming up and we have so many Halloween tutorials on the channel already. Just type in Halloween, pumpkin, jack-o'-lanterns, witch's hat, witch's cat, all those kinds of things into the search engine on the Winton Paper Co YouTube channel and you will find so many lovely things. Today I wanted to do something that was really seasonal and paint something that is constantly associated with Halloween, but of course it does exist outside of Halloween, and I'm talking about pumpkins because beyond the orange, wonderful pumpkin, there are some really beautiful heirloom varieties, heritage varieties, and so I've got the painting here because I've already done it. Look at this. We're going to paint these. How nice are those? And actually they're really simple to do. I find round vegetable shapes and fruit shapes sometimes quite challenging, and actually I found like really lovely happy ways to get these done nice and simply. So grab your paints and let's get started. Okay, let's paint some pumpkins. So we're going to begin with some round shapes. And you can see that they're not perfectly round, are they? They're just rounded. And that's absolutely fine. That's kind of the beauty of pumpkins, because what we can do from these shapes is we can start to sort of turn them into something a little bit more familiar. I'll start with the middle one because what I want to do is actually turn it into more of a squash. So I'm going to just create a bit of a neck for it there, and then also get the stalk going there. For this one here, I could do a nice sort of quite from the top maybe shape, and just get the stalk coming right in there, and we'll have the sections of that pumpkin really from above. Then for this one we'll do a fairly standard one, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have the stalk sort of coming up from the side there, and we're just going to see. This is just a slightly different way. I've got a lot of your classic Halloween pumpkins being painted with tutorials on my playlists in the, I think we've got a seasonal one, I think we've got a Halloween one, and we've got plants and foliage and illustration playlists. But if you just needed a pumpkin, just type in pumpkin into the search engine in my channel and you'll find it basically. That's the beauty of it. So what I'm doing is picking up some lovely earthy tones, green gold mixed with buff titanium, got some burnt sienna and some moon glow, and we're just going to really enjoy painting some nice sort of heritage pumpkins, nothing too gaudy. If you want gaudy jack-o'-lantern pumpkins, then you can find so many on my channel by just searching for them, like I said. But for today we're going to do something a little bit more refined. Well, they're not that refined, are they? But we're going to use sort of wet on wet techniques. So if I just add a bit of burnt sienna down the sides, down the crevices, there you go, and then I'll just paint in a different pumpkin segment here. Yeah, Halloween's not for everybody, but autumn is. So I think it's good to celebrate the pumpkin in all its guises. I'm going to let that dry, paint the other two sections in, and then do a little bit of detail. While I wait for that one to dry to paint the sections in, I've just done a wash of buff titanium and Payne's grey in there, and I think that's come up with a really interesting colour finish. And now what I'm going to do is a bit of deep sap green, and this is just a bit damp, this page. I'm going to paint stripes of deep sap green down the body of the pumpkin. I'm making sure that my green isn't too heavy, and so it'll travel nicely. You want to try and get the dampnesses of your paint and the paper sort of at a fairly even match, and that will mean you'll get the kind of washes and bleeds that you're hoping to get. And I am thrilled with that. I think that looks absolutely fantastic, and we won't need to do much more on that. So this will have had a bit of drying time, so we can go back to painting that in. For this next one, I'm going to start with buff titanium base once again. It's a very good colour, but I'm painting section by section. And I'm even leaving a little bit of unpainted white highlight in there. I'm going to use just a very faint bit of Payne's grey and buff titanium shadow to give it a little bit of a sort of ridge. A bit of a dip, which will go into the other sides. But I also want to use some cadmium orange and probably some pyrrole orange to do a bit of a amazing coloured stripe and a few marks, a few spots. So I'm going to go from section to section, but I don't need to wait for these sections to dry. But what I do just need to remember is to be consistent with what I'm doing. So a bit of buff titanium, allowing a little bit of a unpainted space, getting some of that darker colour in there. And then I will just give it a moment to settle in for the orange stripe. So for now I'll just paint the buff titanium here. Right, let's get that orange in. For the stems, and I know they've got a really cool name and I can't remember, somebody remind me. I've just mixed up some yellow ochre with the Payne's grey and burnt sienna, and I'm just using that as the base for some just really like ridged stems using the unpainted space, and then using a colour sort of relevant to the pumpkin. So this one, do deep sap green and just bed it in a little bit more. And then for this one, it's quite fun to get a twist in it as well, so you could sort of twist your lines. So these are looking really lovely, quite simple. I think we're going to rub out all the pencil and then we're just going to add a little bit of detail, a little bit of shadow, and you'll have 3 gorgeous heritage pumpkins. On this one here, I'm going to take some burnt sienna, quite diluted, and I'm going to sort of do some streaks, basically. Imagine these patterns coming up the side of the pumpkin, and then I can take a bit of this colour, just drop it in a little bit. And it just gives, it's just nice to give a slightly different perspective of painting pumpkins, because they're not all jack-o'-lanterns and all that kind of thing. And then a few sort of little lines coming out the top as well. Gosh, the weather has really changed since I started painting these. I don't know if you can hear wind and rain, but it's really coming in. You can really feel the weather turning autumnal now. And maybe I'm quite happy about it. I'm kind of ready for it. Obviously, Yellowstone was incredibly sort of seasonal and atmospheric, but even then there were days when we were in shorts and t-shirts, especially up in North Yellowstone in Gardner. Okay, and then for this one here we're just going to go straight into some shadow, so I'll get a bit more Payne's grey into that mix, and I'm just going to come down on the pumpkin and really sort of enhance that sense of the roundness of the sort of bulb of the pumpkin, and just get a bit of a feel of the base there. And you can sort of help with the shape a little bit by using that nice sort of, making the outline a bit more sort of bulbous, maybe a bit wobbly and a bit wonky. And then on this one here, I'm going to get some Pyrrol orange, some really strong orange, and enhance the line. So I did the line, and now I'm just sort of scribbling over it a little bit with a slightly damp brush. That's quite fun as well, just to enhance some of those patterns. Finishing off with a bit of shadow on this one here. Getting a bit of burnt sienna in with the Payne's grey. So doing section by section. And then cleaning the brush off and just sort of slightly softening that glaze in. And then by the time we're coming up the top, we don't really need any shadow there, apart from just in the little crevices there. And then for the real sort of low little bits here, just a little bit of concentrated Payne's grey. And just sort of push that about a bit. And there we have 3 lovely heirloom pumpkins, or heritage pumpkins. Basically means just like fancy breeds, species, types. Let's do a bit of shadow, shall we? And there we have 3 just slightly different, slightly classier pumpkins for you. I mean, you'll always get me getting very excited over an orange pumpkin, making a jack-o'-lantern each Halloween, but sometimes it's just really nice to look at the different types from a vegetable that serves us so well. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you're enjoying the season, and whether you celebrate Halloween or not, I hope you're gearing up for a very happy one. And for now, I will say thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to the video. Let us know you're out there. It's lovely to hear from you, and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye!